Thanks everybody for joining us for today's webinar, Dental Marketing 101. Um, if anytime you have questions, you can ask those in the chat. You can use the QA feature or raise your hand, and one of my teammates will interrupt me and share the question, and we'll share that with the group as we go through this. I have been doing marketing for a really long time. I get really excited about it, and if I'm talking too fast, or I use a term that you're unfamiliar with, it's totally cool to say, hey, panelists, can you ask Tom to slow down? Or, what was that term that he just said? I don't understand that. That's cool too. I try to keep everything simple. We're going to keep the conversation at a really, really high level, or I'm going to attempt to keep it at a high level in terms of these concepts. Um, but again, if I get a little too excited and say something you don't understand, just please don't hesitate to let us know. So again, my name's Tom, and I've been doing marketing and sales and strategy work in the media industry for about 30 years. I've been working with dental practices and orthodontists and you name it really in dentistry for about the last 7. Um, Anything from single doctor owned practices in small rural towns and communities to many, many location practices over an entire market like Atlanta, for instance, or Chicago, or even at the DSO level. I really like the opportunity in dentistry right now. There's just a lot of exciting things happening in terms of, well, marketing dental practices and the competitive nature of the industry now. And I love how practices are starting to evolve and think about life cycle of their patients and lifetime value of patients and incorporate different specialties and treatments to provide another level, like an extra level of care to their patients now. It's really kind of an exciting time to be doing what we do. I try to keep things simple and try to really focus on what the opportunities are around the local community or communities you're serving. So I know a lot of marketing companies and marketers will talk about local, but that's kind of how I want to present the concepts today, is to think about the things that impact how you deliver more services to the community that you're serving, just around the immediate area of the practice. So that's how we'll stay focused today. Um, we're going to start today by talking a little bit about the customer journey. This is a really, really simple chart. But I want you to kind of think about this. We'll try to apply this concept through things like digital ads and SEO and websites as we just have a discussion today. But everybody goes through some journey of making a purchase decision. It doesn't matter if it's Oreo cookies or a luxury vehicle or dental care. We become the basic customer journey as we become aware that we have a problem we need to solve, or there's a desire or a want or a need. Then we consider our options. We do our homework, and then we decide, right? In dentistry, we could actually probably refer this kind of extend this line out and say, when we become a loyal patient, we also then refer. We become kind of a brand ambassador or advocate for the practice at that point. And there's marketing tactics and ways to communicate with people that are not our patients, and ways to communicate to our patients that help us grow our practice based on our business objectives and goals. Now, you see a lot of logos on this customer journey slide: Instagram, Facebook, Google. They're randomly inserted in this chart. It's not an indication that we use Instagram for awareness, or we use the telephone when consumers are making decisions. What I want you to understand is that we live in a non-linear world today. I mean, the digital universe and digital media has created now a non-linear way at which patients can find you as a practice. Um, so think about that. Like, you can do great work with a patient leaves your practice, they go home, they tell their neighbor goes into a Facebook group and says, hey, I'm looking for a pediatric dentist. You know, my neighbor Sally next to me just had a good experience with her child. Anybody else have any recommendations? They can learn about you for the first time in Facebook in a group chat, right? And then they go to Google and they search for the brand. Or when they're ready to set the appointment, they search for pediatric dentist near me, or pediatric dentist in Decatur, Georgia, for instance. Or they may search even for a geographical landmark, pediatric dentist near Eddie's Attic. I mean, they may get really specific in a market like Atlanta where it's so dense in terms of the number of providers. They could get really specific with how they search for providers near them. But they do this in a non-linear way. They may click on an ad, they may look at your reviews. Nothing is in order like it was 50 years ago when we thought about advertising and media. They can learn about you. So it's in all these different places. So it's really important to kind of keep in mind that we need to be consistent with tone and voice and how we represent the practice, how we talk about patient experience and represent patient experience in the content that we create in social, on our website, in an ad, in a high school football program, in a community sponsorship or community event. We want to be really, really consistent. And that helps us accomplish our business objectives in a more efficient way. All right. So let's get into more dental marketing 101 things. And I presenting these concepts as if it's your marketing house or your dental marketing house, where the website is the foundation of your home. Digital marketing builds the structure. Traditional marketing tactics add the curb appeal. And brand is that rug that ties the room together. It is that thing when we're standing on the curb and we see a home and the lawn is manicured and pretty and we enter the home and we can see the physical appearance of the home and it's the cookies coming out of the oven smell and the feeling that we get when we enter a home. um, Branding is all of that. It's the thing that ties it all together, like your values and culture and how you treat your patients and your employees and how you represent yourself when you're doing community events. um, More on branding later. Let's get into a website discussion. we I think about this as being a foundation of everything that you do. And the reason why is because it's the virtual extension of what people are experiencing physically in the practice. It is your we don't employ salespeople in dental practices. We employ sales techniques in terms of how we treat our patients and how we sell services and treatment and cases, how we manage life cycle. But if you think about this, like your website is your best salesperson, and it has two jobs to do, two primary functions. The first is that it has to attract visitors, and it does that in terms of how content is written and structured and marked up so that search engines can index the content and then recommend your content to its users. So that's the first most important goal. The second is it needs to convert visitors into new patient exams. And so when we think about conversion rate, this is, I think, where a lot of companies and in dental, there's so many website companies. Many of them are missing this thing around conversion rate. Um, you may not have a primary call to action or a big book now button in the upper right hand corner. We want a phone number there. If you're using a platform like Rhinogram, maybe you want your texting number there so people can engage that way immediately. But we think about having that primary call to action being very, very clear. We want your experiences to load quickly on mobile devices because, come on, let's face it, we're in a mobile driven world now. People are searching for you and visiting your website on a mobile device. So guess what? It needs to be mobile first designed and responsive. Load within 2 to 4 seconds and easy to navigate in the palm of their hand. And a lot of companies are still missing that today. Um, in terms of conversion rate, highlighting your services, the things that are important to you as a practice. Oftentimes I talk to doctors and they say, hey, you know what, we're really trying to grow our dental implant business. But when you visit the website, you don't really see it. So it needs to sync up with what you're doing and how you're trying to drive your practice forward and represent the overall patient experience. Doesn't mean that you have to avoid stock photos, right? But the stock photos that you use in your website experience need to be need to indicate what the patient can expect. They need to show what treatment looks like from a success standpoint, right? You want to support your story correctly. And all these things drive website conversion rate higher, okay? And your services and how you write about your services and then structure the service-oriented content on your website works to attract more visitors. The bottom of this slide with the eyeballs, I have a thing in orange, website conversion rate 3 to 5%. This is what we want to target. This is what good looks like in a website in terms of performance. And website conversion rate, I promise I'm not going to give you a lot of math today. Website conversion rate is just back of the envelope calculation is really simply the number of leads or new patient or patient requests that you get from your website. That can be a form fill, a schedule, or a first time phone call from your website in some period of time divided by the total web sessions or website traffic. I always tell dentists to think about 90 or maybe even 120 days as that period of time to know what it is. And we want that 3 to 5%. Listen, the vast majority of dental websites, because I've done hundreds, probably potentially over 1,000 of marketing audits in the last several years, the vast majority of them are under 1% because page load times or 6, 7, I've even seen page load times over 10 seconds, or they may even be missing a call to action. People can't figure out how to set an appointment. And so it really impacts design and performance, really impact conversion rate. So check yours out and see where it is. If you need some help with that, I'm always eager to help you there and help you figure that out. So that's websites. So now let's talk about structure a little bit. This is on your left-hand side, you see something you're familiar with, I'm sure, which is a search engine results page or a Google search engine results page. People go and they search for dentist near me, and then they get all of this content that gets served to them. And guess what we see at the top? We see ads. We see what are called local service ads first, then paid service ads, and that's in that first box. The second box in the middle are what is commonly called the local pack, or you may have people call it the map pack, where Google is assembling content from your Google My Business profile, as well as SEO technical markup or technical SEO markup called schema from your website to place the pin in the map. And this is a kind of a fun exercise. We're on a Friday, so depending on what time your Friday evening starts, when you're just kind of chillaxing, open up a private browsing session and search for treatments near me or a treatment with a community name and see how you show up there. We want not just our dental practices showing up when consumers are searching for dentist near me or dental practice near me. We want our dental practices showing up when people are searching for things like clear aligners near me or dental implants near me or dental implants, Boca Raton, Florida. We want to be appearing in that map pack because it's a convenience thing for consumers, right? They're looking for treatment near them. And also, this is the first place where we see reviews playing a major role. And no one really quite knows how the Google algorithm works, but we do know that natural and organic and in a normal rhythm or a cadence to how reviews are generated in a practice will influence how Google puts information in that box, particularly lists the business names. So it's really kind of important driver for your business. And then at the bottom, number 3, guess what? That's where number 1 is. Remember many years ago, we used to think, well, I want to be number 1 on Google. I got to be number 1 on Google. Or maybe we've gone to trade shows and we've heard a marketing guru say, well, really, you need to be 1 to 3. 1 to 3 now is at the bottom of the page. So when we're thinking about the walls of our marketing house and putting structure in what we're doing, based on our business objectives, like what are the cases that we're trying to drive and the patients we're trying to pull in, what our growth stage of our practice is, we need to be thinking about these 3 primary areas of real estate and using them strategically to help accomplish our goals. But being number 1 in it today is not really at the top of the page. Number 1 starts with an ad. We want to use the ad strategically to get the types of patients that we want in the practice. And number 2 is this very organic and natural occurrence of how people are finding providers near them. And that's really a function of listings like your Google My Business profile and your content on your website and how it's marked up technically. But a lot going on in these pages now today, right? Like, 25 years ago, so when I was doing SEO or started doing SEO, it wasn't like this. It was just search results basically. and then Google started throwing those pesky ads in, which were really, really exciting at the time. But um, all right, there's your walls. Let's keep going through our presentation here before I get too reflective and reminisce on the olden times. So Google and social ads, I do get asked a lot of questions about ads, and I think we as marketing companies, every marketing company has its own unique dictionary and the way they talk about things based on their perspective and experience and knowledge. Um, but man, Google ads are awesome because we can use them so strategically. Now I know there's a lot of kind of apprehension and anxiety around Google ads. They can be costly if they're not properly managed, set up and managed correctly. But when I think about using them precisely or with precision to target demographics, buyer intent, and geography to drive patient growth, or even referral business too, um, I think about these LSA ads and paid search ads. So on the left-hand side, you can see an example of what is a local services ad. These This is kind of new to dentistry. It's been around in home services for a while. Anybody here that's in the webinar now that searched for a plumber recently, or electrician, or landscaper, you or an attorney or financial services too, you're probably seeing a lot of these local services ads, where essentially Google verifies the business. You go through a verification process. Now with dentists, it's your licensing, not just your business licensing, but your medical licensing too. And it confirms that. And then you get Google verified, which is what that check mark is over there above Kirkland Premier Dentistry. It's letting the consumer know that this is a verified business. And these things have a lot of trust and credibility for that reason. You pay on the call basis with these ads. So when you get a phone call and the phone call is answered after a period of time, that's when you're paying for the ad. So you could run a lot of these without ever generating a call, but you know what? They generate a lot of calls. And you can target them based on the services or the cases you're trying to pick up, just in the geography that you're focused on growing your practice in. So they can be quite effective. You'll see cost per leads in the neighborhood of $65 to $85. They're not, they haven't taken off in dentistry yet, because just not many people know about them, and there's not a lot of marketing companies even talking about them. But this could be like a competitive advantage for your practice, particularly right now in 2025. Then the next ad is that one below. We're all familiar with the paid search ads, but what I wanted to tell you about paid search ads is most companies and most marketing people miss it here, or the most common mistake or mistakes with paid search ads are, and they're all around targeting. Um, they target the search query or the keyword incorrectly. A great example of this is with Invisalign, where we want to run an ad when someone searches for anytime someone uses the word for Invisalign. But here's that interesting customer journey kind of factor. We know when someone searches for something like what is Invisalign, they're not ready to set an appointment. They don't want to come in yet and start Invisalign treatment. They're just at the beginning stages of their customer journey. And then when they start to search for things like what does Invisalign cost? Is Invisalign for kids? Right? They're still considering care. But if we're just targeting the word Invisalign, our ads show up anytime that word is used. And that tends to rack up money because we're paying for the click anytime someone's doing their homework. So the key with this is that we want to target the phrases with high intent around setting a consult, which are things like Invisalign near me, or Invisalign Decatur, Georgia, or Invisalign Shenandoah Valley. We want to be really specific with the intent of that to drive consults that then in the practice convert into cases. And that's the number one big mistake. The other mistake with paid search ads is the geography is too wide. And so, someone's not going to drive. I'm sorry I'm using Decatur, Georgia so much because now Stephanie's got me thinking about Decatur. But someone's not going to drive from Columbus, Georgia, all the way to Decatur for treatment, right? But a problem a lot of times is our geography is too big for those ads. They may be ready to start treatment or come in and see you as a provider, but they're not going to make an hour drive to see you. And in a market like Atlanta, that's a deal breaker. If you're in a rural area and you have to have a large radius, we know that, right? But a lot of times those radiuses are pushed out 50 and 75 miles. I mean, not unless you're on the border of Wyoming and Canada do we need a gigantic trading radius with paid search ads. So that's the other thing with paid search ads, but use those strategically. You'll see, by the way, conversion rate of these ads at 10% plus if they're set up right. If the campaigns are managed correctly, the keywords are targeted correctly, the ad groups and the creative, the ads themselves are written around what you're actually doing and what your landing page reflects. Remember, we have to drive the traffic to a web page. Here's that conversion rate thing again. That converts. Clear call to action, loading fast on a mobile device, is clear about the services and treatments that you're providing in the community that you're serving. That landing page experience builds trust and credibility by showing trust symbols like your accreditation, the provider, how long you've been in business, etc. So all this stuff works together. The two other ad types you see in the bullets here are Performance Max ads. We call these display ads. They can they're very effective at building brand awareness, particularly for younger practice or growth stage practices, or maybe if you're a practice and you're introducing a new specialty or a new service or treatment into the practice, like for instance, you're introducing dental implants into a practice for the first time, Performance Max ad can be used to drive awareness for you as a business, and you only pay for the click. And then social ads are here. I really briefly with social ads, these are really popular, right? A lot of people spend money on social ads, and we often think about Facebook ads as having a low cost per click, and your marketing company may brag, wow, your average cost per click on your Facebook ads was only 8 cents. Crazy. But we had to serve a zillion of them and get a zillion clicks to get one conversion. And then by the time they came to the practice, my patient acquisition cost was like 750 bucks. And the reason why people have a problem with or having challenges with social is that we're not thinking about the nature of the customer journey. There's that pesky customer journey again. We're in Facebook to look at hamburger pictures, the vacation I just took down to the Caribbean, to see what my neighbors are up to on their vacation, share family photos. We're passive dental consumers and social. We're not there searching for problems. Even if we're participating in a Facebook group and we ask our neighbors for a list of providers to help us, we're still always going back to search to do our homework, to check the providers, to look at reviews, look at their GMB, see who's nearest to them. Think about that. Social's really passive. Okay, we're moving on. I'm probably stayed too long on that one slide. Listen, this is probably a good time to pause and ask if anybody has questions. Um, is my pace okay? Am I going too fast? I hope I'm not using big words. You've probably already figured out I'm really excitable around these topics. So let me just kind of look over at my screen. Again, don't hesitate if you have questions. The team will interrupt me. Okay, so now we're still working on structure. And this slide is really about SEO and listings, and they kind of work hand to hand. So I always think about, I mean, we make SEO out to be way more complicated than it is. And again, most mistakes around SEO are made by not paying attention to the details and not covering our bases with the basics. So just think about search engine optimization as really it's three things. It's three things. It's the words that a human can read on your website. We visit a website and I can see Children's Dentistry of Idaho. They provide these services. They care for these types of patients. Here's how I set an appointment. This is how easy it is, right? And then if I want to dig into a topic around wisdom teeth, I go to the wisdom teeth page. I read all about it. It's the words that you can see as a human. That's number one. The second thing, it's the words that you can't see. And really, it's the programming code in which your web pages or your website is assembled. So remember, when we click on a link or we visit a website, we make a request through a web browser to some group of servers in the cloud somewhere. the web page gets assembled. And that happens with programming. By the way Google finds all of the words written for humans is it has to go through all the programming code to find them. So guess what? We want our code to be really light and agile and nimble, not have anything unnecessary in it. So Google can read the human content and understand the purpose behind it and what we do in the communities that we're serving. So that's number two. Number one is the words that a human can read. Number two is all the programming code behind it. And the third thing is offsite SEO or links directing people back to your website from authoritative sources. And we think of those authoritative sources as being directory listings. Like your Google My Business profile is the Titanic iceberg of all listings, right? And Google reads all the information about your business, your hours of operation, your address and location, the services you're operating, of course, your reviews. And it validates kind of who you are, but it follows the link back to your website. And it reads that on all of them. Yelp, the health grades, your yellow pages. There's 25 really gigantic authoritative directory services. And then there's many more dozens after that. So we want to be consistent in how these directories present our business information and what we do and where we're located. And those links and that consistency build trust and drive up local search ranking. So when someone's searching for dental implant near me or dental implant Boca Raton, bam, you're showing up in these maps. You're showing up in more listings. You're showing up, your dental implant page is ranking below. So that's all this stuff is. One, two, three, the words a human can see, the words the human can't see, and then the links. And those are the basics, but we foul those up so many times when we write really light content. We only write our dental implant page only has 100 words on it, for instance. And then we use software to design a website on our behalf that adds code that Google has to sort through to find those 100 words. I think you get what I'm saying here. Like we make it really, really hard sometimes when we just need to stick with the basics and make things simple, streamlined, fast, performance oriented. And when we do those things, we're showing up everywhere where we want to show up in a way that drives our business. I had a little thing here about ask for reviews, but I think I have reviews on the next slide. So, um, we think about these Google reviews go in this category called reputation management, but I think I've already impressed upon you that the reviews are really, really important for organic results in maps, but also in web page ranking. And by the way, your reviews can be used in ads too, particularly your paid search ads as extensions, and they're used in your local services ads. So they can drive ad performance, right? Because if I've got 318 five-star reviews and that's under my paid search ad, you're darn right I'm going to get the click. And if I'm then targeting the search phrase with intent, like dental implant near me, you're darn right I'm going to get, if the website matches, right, and builds trust, I'm going to get the conversion and I'm going to get the case. Bam, bam, bam. So these reviews are like more important than ever. They're part of this reputation management piece or area of digital marketing today. And we also think about building trust and credibility with social media content. Um, we talked about Facebook with ads a little bit, and remember it's passive. So just as much as Google, by the way, when Google serves all this content on a search results page, it's doing it in a way that enhances their users' experience, right? I mean, Google didn't get to be gigantic because they had a bad user experience and they produced a really bad product. They got to be as large as they are because it's an amazing user experience and they keep using on it, enhancing it. Well, Facebook's engineered around that too. They want people to keep coming back and back and back over and over again to consume more and more and more content. And the way they measure quality content is through this thing called engagement. And that engagement comes from likes, comments, and sharing. So if we want to expand our reach within our existing community, or even through the network effects of social media, then we need to be thinking about the quality of the content we're producing that drives engagement. It's not about quantity of posting. It's really about quality as it makes to engagement. So the way you can drive engagement with your social media content and build more trust is talking about your people, talking about the things you're doing in the community, telling patient stories. Um, there's an orthodontist up in Michigan, Dr. I'm going to probably mess his last name up, Camo, Kamo. If Joseph's online right now listening to this, maybe he can put it in the chat. You guys should check out his social. He tells so many patient stories. And it's not cases, it's not before and after pictures. It's he's standing arm to arm with his patient with his arm around him, and there's big smiles, and he tells a little story about the patient and how the smile has impacted their life. And that stuff drives a lot of engagement, and it builds community and drives more organic behavior around his brand in terms of website traffic and then website conversions to consults. So that's really the kind of the thing there with social. It's not quantity, it's about quality and builds trust. And it goes hand in hand with your brand's reputation and how your community talks about you. Think about it also as a virtual word of mouth network. So what do you do to get more word of mouth? Well, you deliver great care, you're friendly, you build relationships with your patients. Your team members build those relationships too. That's your social channel. That's your social channel. Um, Okay, moving on. So traditional marketing. I threw a slide in here on traditional because, oh my gosh, again, the wonderful thing about dentistry and dental practices, and for the doctors that are here and own practices, you know this already, but there's a very natural there's a very natural thing baked into your business model, and it's this flywheel effect of you do great work with your patients, they leave happy, they go tell others, and your phone rings and you get more patients. That's like inherent. That's like a part of your business model DNA. And we think about kind of leveraging that. You can leverage that even further and extend that positive vibe through traditional marketing, through the direct mail pieces you may do, through the high school football program you may have an ad in, or sponsoring the local soccer club, or um, sponsoring the homework folders in the local school system. The causes that you get behind and represent yourself behind is like an extension of this positive vibe. It's this curb appeal that you extend out in the community. Um, by the way, I mentioned direct mail. You know, it still works. You may not get oodles and oodles of phone calls off of it like you did 20 years ago, but you can be so, again, strategic with how you target specific neighborhoods and school districts with it to drive the impact that you need in geography. So don't count it out. Um, Community events and school sponsorships here and referral programs, all this visibility collectively builds more trust around the practice and the brand. Did we have a question, Simon or Chantel? I saw a chat bubble pop up in front of me. Just want to make sure I don't get too far ahead here.
The link from Chantel from Joseph, I'll add it so everyone can see it.
Marvelous, marvelous. Um, Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So we'll keep going here. All right, here's the rug that ties the room together. I am kind of a Big Lebowski. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a nut, but I am in the fan club. So it's this warm cookie smell in the house. It's how the house looks. It's the perfectly manicured grass. My grass needs a little bit of work. It's still early in the year for me, but um, the brand is all of this stuff. It's all of this stuff together. A lot of times I think we think about, oh, we got to have an awesome logo and the colors have to be spot on. And sometimes like startup practices, startup doctors, I feel for them. Sometimes they agonize over this logo thing. You listen, we all want cool logos. We all want the logo to represent who we are, our values, what we're about, and all of that stuff. But the branding, right, is way more than that. I think everybody understands that. It's how you treat people. It's the physical vibes in the practice. It's how you greet your patients when they come in to see you. It's the culture that you build with your team, how you treat your folks, how everyone gets along, and that kind of translates into how you do patient care too. It's how you're involved in the community. It's all of those things. It's really brand, and that drives more trust and longevity and sustainability in the things that you do if that tone is consistent in all the things that you do. I mean, nothing crushes conversion, whether it's website conversion rate or conversion in the practice, more than something that's off sync, right? Like I'm advertising that I'm this amazing digital practice and I'm state of the art and I'm doing all of these cool things. I spend a lot of money on a slick print ad in the bougie society magazine that gets distributed across town. And then somebody clicks that URL and it hits your website, and the website communicates the exact opposite. And like it's a 5-year-old website on older technology, it loads in 10 seconds and it doesn't sync up. So you lose that opportunity to serve someone in the community. It's got to be consistent across everything that you do. Um, all right, what should you budget? We have a lot of conversations with doctors about budgeting. Years and years and years ago, historically in dentistry, dentists maybe spent a total of 1.5% of their gross receipts, annual gross receipts on marketing. Not a lot of money, again, because you had this DNA in your this very normal flywheel effect in your business model. So referrals drove growth for decades and decades in dentistry. Not so much anymore as it's gotten more competitive. So we're seeing dental practices spending 3 to 6% of those annual gross receipts on marketing in total. It typically breaks out into 60% digital, 40% traditional. Um, we need to be tracking everything that we're doing. And a lot of times people don't understand that, yes, you can track a direct mail piece. Yes, you can track the ad you ran in the high school football program with phone numbers and website addresses or URLs. Um, so you can track everything. And remember, marketing is an investment, not an expense. By the way, this big pie chart with all these percentages on it, I actually have it in a little Excel worksheet. If you would like a copy of this, so you can kind of see what a typical dental practice is, how they're kind of allocating marketing dollars in total, compare it to what you're doing, then just put your email in the chat and let us know, and I'll email it to you after the webinar. Take me just a couple minutes to send it to you. You'll notice in this chart that there's a substantial amount of the budget that goes to SEO and ads. And you're absolutely correct on that. Remember, we're focused with SEO, with this words that humans can see. We're focused on a long game, on a marathon of putting our writing content about the treatments we're providing in the communities that we're serving and who we are as providers. And we're adding to that and updating it over a very long period of time to have that growth curve in website traffic organically. Now, why is SEO important? Why do we emphasize it so much? There is not a variable cost to your business for acquiring a patient from an organic result. So think about that. Like if you run a Google ad, a paid search ad, a LSA ad, Facebook ads, you do traditional advertising in your local market, every one of those patients carries a variable cost to how you acquire them. Not so with organic. If someone clicks on your Google My Business listing and calls you directly or visits your website from an organic result, there's no cost for that click or call. So that's why we emphasize it, because over time, as we're running this marathon in our business, what creates competitive advantage for you as a business owner is to have more patients you're acquiring with zero variable costs than the opposite. Because if the economy goes south, if a DSO backs into our backyard all of a sudden, if another group comes in, right, and we don't have that competitive advantage, that cost advantage in our business model, then it's a struggle, right? Then we're having to spend more to compete. So that's why SEO is so important. Ads is kind of typically, depending on your growth curve, will be right there along with SEO. Remember, with ads, it's quick visibility. It's measurable ROI within a short period of time. We think of ads as a sprint. We can run campaigns on 90-day cycles. We can get campaigns going in an afternoon and get data back on them within days to understand how they're working and then start to optimize them for greater levels of performance. Greater levels of performance are more calls, more leads at a competitive cost point. So there's a big emphasis on ads and digital just because of how quickly we can see a result and manage it. And then social is in this, but also your website. And I mentioned earlier in the conversation that think about your website as being your number one salesperson. And I would encourage you to think about the investment you make in website equaling that. Now, again, I know we don't have salespeople in our practices, but we're training technicians now on sales technique as it relates to, moving people into cases or treatment, right? And a lot of modern practices are also incentivizing that behavior, whether it's individually or with team goals. So think about that investment you're making in total. What are you going to pay your best technician that's driving a lot of clear aligner cases for you? You're that's your website budget, and make that same investment over a course of a year and always improve it, modify it, enhance it, because that, again, hand in hand with SEO. Remember, the words you see and the words you don't see, that's going to drive competitive advantage long term and sustainable advantage. All right, so again, if you want that little budget worksheet thing, just put your email in the chat and we'll make sure that we send that to you. I think we're on the home stretch here, just a couple more slides. So again, we have this marketing house. We think about modern day homes today. We have HVAC systems, smart appliances, security systems. Heck, I mean, your sprinkler system may be a smart sprinkler system. Your home's pulse. And the analogy in digital marketing or marketing is analytics, because we can kind of see systems, we can see channels of patient acquisition, like our ad campaigns and how well they're working, SEO, how that's growing, how our SEO traffic converts, how many calls we're receiving, what's the nature of the calls, are they being answered, are they first time or repeat calls? We can listen to calls. Bottom line is we can adjust these systems at any time, in the business, out of the business. You can be on vacation in Spain, check your numbers, make a quick email or text to say, let's adjust the ad campaign. So analytics, your home's pulse. And the thing that I would encourage you to consider here is to own your data. Own your data. Gosh, the switching costs are so high for you as dental practice owners when you don't. If you leave it up to your marketing company to set up your analytics and own that, or to set up your Google Search Console, or to own your ads data, you've got to start from scratch every time you change providers. Whereas if you own the data, it's inherent in your business and you build history that anybody can plug and play into. And then you're just managing accountability, or you're just holding people accountable to continue to improve upon that historical data. So own it, own it. It's going to give you a really nice understanding of where your patients come from and over time, over history. And you can focus on optimizing the things that matter to you based on where you are in your practice, right? Like when you start your practice, you're just focused on overall traffic and conversion. And then 20 years down the later, we're adding a specialty, we're adding some new treatments, and we have effort around that we really want to focus and optimize around. So analytics is your home's pulse. So that's what a strong marketing house looks like. We start with the website as a foundation. We build the structure with SEO, ads, listings, reviews. Your entry into more trust and credibility within community is through social and reputation. Curb appeal is all that traditional stuff that you do. And remember, we want to be consistent in reflecting who we are and our values in all of these channels. That's brand. Okay. Oh, how dental ROI can help. I should say that we do all these things. Custom websites are built in SEO, local listings and reviews. We help you get more of those on that natural cadence, organic cadence. Ad management, social media, of course. And we do direct mail, and we track all of it. We're obsessed with local and how it drives your business locally. That's why we have the direct mail piece, I think, in our suite of services, is again, because we're thinking about how we drive more patients around your locations. And the last slide is if you'd like me to apply these concepts to your practice, doesn't matter how many locations that you have, one or many locations, I'm happy to do what I call a free marketing audit, where I go through the website, I identify opportunities to improve on website conversion rate, how to expand reach and search, get more reviews. We look at your listings to see if they're updated and optimized. We look at all of these things, and then I build an action plan for you. Even if you're not working with Dental ROI, we still do this. We're big believers in being a resource to the community and elevating all of us up. And so this is something that we do. You're under no obligation to work with us. I love doing these things. Um, if you can't tell it, it kind of makes it kind of gets me going. So you can hit the QR code to request one. It'll take you right directly to my calendar, and you just book it when you've got time. You can also email me at tom@dentalroi.com. And I'm providing my cell phone on this slide. I really don't mind calls. You can also send me texts. And with that, we'll open it up for questions and answer. I hope we don't have too many hard ones. But please feel free if we've got some questions in chat. We'd love to kind of address those. It doesn't look like we have too many questions right now. My teammates did in the chat provide a couple of links. There's, again, you can hit the QR code to book a marketing audit with me directly, or you can click the link in the chat to do that. And also my colleagues shared a couple of other, Profound Orthodontics, Dr. Camo's orthodontic practice up in Michigan that I was telling you about, that does really, really good social. His link is there too. So check those out. We've also got a poll question up. Listen, if this wasn't valuable for you, if it was too basic, let me know. I mean, again, we're serious about being a resource to the community. Give us that feedback. You can also email me or text me too. Since we don't have too many questions, we'll turn you guys loose for the afternoon. It looks like we're a little early. Thanks everybody again for joining us. We really appreciate you leaning in and participating today, and let us know how we can help. All right, you guys have a good Friday and a happy weekend. Thank you very much.